I'm excited to welcome Fernando Duarte, who is the Director of Customer Support at Odyssey. He's been doing customer support roles, customer-facing roles for over 15 years. And one of the things that I have really been impressed by with him is that he describes his love of problem solving and making his customers the hero. So welcome, Fernando.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. I think we both have a similar love of Legos. So it sounds like you love building Legos with your kids. And has that been kind of a lifetime thing? Did you get into it more recently?
It's a lifetime. I love organizing chaos, and that's what Legos are. They're bags of chaos. My favorite two sets are very complex sets. There's a Nintendo entertainment system with a little TV that you crank and it moves the animation on it. I sat down with my daughter, who was 8 years old at the time, for 10 hours at a table to finish the whole thing.
Whoa.
Same thing with my son. We had a fully articulated R2D2, and it was about 10 hours. But it's 10 hours that I'm sitting with them. My whole job is to pull out the next pieces for the next page. They build. If they made a mistake, I'll let them make that mistake. And when we get 3-4 pages later, it's like, this is not fitting. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? And then they start backtracing and say, oh, here's what the mistake. Great. Now you found it. Let's do this. But it's not about me building it. It's watching them, understanding, making mistakes, allowing them to do that, and end up with a piece, an outcome that is all organized from the mess that was originally there.
Oh, that's cool. I think it's especially cool because you're kind of overseeing the chaos and you're overseeing them patiently, as opposed to, I don't know, I have 4 kids and sometimes I have trouble jumping in maybe too early to try to help. And it seems like your method is very chill. So like, how are you getting your brain to be so, I mean, has it always been that way? Are you that kind of
guy? No. I need constant stimulation, constant feedback. It's one of the few times when I'm sitting with them that in order to keep calm as they're doing this task, I'm concentrating on looking at their reactions, facial expressions as they're thinking, how they're approaching a problem. So I'm analyzing what they're doing, and that's how I'm feeding myself rather than just sitting there doing nothing.
So do you ever, build your own Legos? You do it on your own? Yeah. What's your favorite? Do you have one that you can most remember?
My whole office is full of Legos. They have a Star Wars series, and the ships are too big to put everywhere, but they have helmets. So I collect the helmets.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just having the displays. Okay, it's done.
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's blurred, but behind me, I have a Batman cowl, like his mask.
Yep.
I have a big Batman like frame, and I actually, in the office of Mark Zuckerberg, when I was working at Facebook, my wife and I brought over. It wasn't his office; it was like a conference room that he used. But we built the Lego Batman tumbler, like the Batman mobile from the Christian Bale Batman movie.
I have that.
Dude, it's so cool, right?
It is. Yeah,
that's so cool. Okay, and like, do you find that working through these kind of helps, in addition to the sort of patience, methodical chaos? Does it help you, I don't know, take a moment from the normal, ordinary, chaotic work life? Working with your customers.
It does. When you work in support, it's chaos everywhere. I mean, that's the nature of the business. This is something that I know I will have an outcome. I know what the outcome is. It's predictable. There's a pattern. When I'm building, especially you talked about the cowl that you have on the back. There's one side is going to be the same as the other side. You have parallel things. So when they're showing me, oh, we're going to be building this ear at the same time I'm building the second ear. I'm trying, how do I make it more efficient at the same time? So build efficiency on the discover the patterns, do that. Yeah, it brings me home. My wife knows that. That's why she allows me to spend. My last order was $600 out of Lego.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love
And
it.
she's like, "Do you want them all?" Yes. I'm like, they're all yours, because she knows that when all the stress from everything gets together, I'll just sit down on a table, and I need an hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm back to normal. I decompressed.
It seems a little bit like a, there's like these mindfulness practices that people talk about, or yoga, meditation. Building Legos for me as well is very, very much that way. One thing that you pointed out, or you mentioned, that's pretty interesting is you talked about completion with the Lego versus work, where I think in a lot of ways work is never complete. It's never ending. There's always something more to do. And so sometimes it feels like you're never going to get to the end, right? Like, I guess you probably have to look at the work you do every day more like milestones or mini jobs or something, just like you might with the Lego. Is that fair?
Yeah. So I'm going to now, you brought something to my mind. I was rereading a book from Simon Sinek, and he's talking about the infinite versus the finite game. If you approach anything in at work as a finite thing, you're going to lose, because there's no winners or losers. It's just about continuing the game. So any interaction that you have with a customer is not I finished this, I closed the ticket. That's not the game. The game is to continue the game, continue playing, keeping that relationship going. So this is an infinite game, whereas Legos is a finite game. I know what the end is, and I won when I finished the thing. There's a milestone, clear milestone when everything's over.
It's much more profound than I was expecting, but I love the finite versus infinite. That's a really cool book. Do you? Maybe when we're done, I'll have to grab the name of the book from you. But that sounds very cool. So as I mentioned earlier, you've been working in customer success, customer support for 15 plus years. Looking at your LinkedIn, it's like 10 different companies, a lot of great names, exciting opportunities and challenges. Everyone seemed very different. I'm super curious though, like how you got started. So we can go as far back as you want, but like, what did you work as a grocery store shelf stocker in customer support, helping people? Did you, work in customer support in a summer job? Where did you first have your first interaction with this kind of experience? And how did you know that you wanted to keep doing it?
Sure. So I'll go far back. I moved to the United States to study computers. I was video gamer. I wanted to make games. That was the reason I moved here. So I learned programming, and I did retail while I was going to school. I discovered the love that I had for training and selling, and I became a retail manager, eventually a district manager, a national trainer, different companies. One of these companies, I had a problem with the IT team because they didn't know what they were doing. Nice. So I would stop on my way home from one of my stores. I would stop by the headquarters and give him a lesson on what they did wrong. The CTO kept hearing this, and he's like, "Why don't you come and run my team instead?" I'm like, okay, sounds like a plan. I know all the stores, I know all the managers, I know what they're going through, I know technology. Let me do that. So I moved from retail front end to retail back end, doing IT support, build a team. We had 300 stores, awesome thing. It was a photography company. So we converted the 300 stores from film to digital. That was a phenomenal transition.
Oh, wow. There's a lot of different things here that are really interesting. Sorry, keep going.
That company got sold and moved to Texas. And as much as I love their barbecue, I wasn't going to move from California. So I went to a big retailer, Mervyn's, California. They open big box. And I built a support team. 24/7, 365 technology, I built, I wrote some software for them as well while I was there. And then the 2008 crash happened. Mervyn's went bankruptcy, and I had the opportunity to go to another big box retailer, but it was a 45-minute drive from my house. Same time I interviewed with them, I interviewed with a little startup that was a 7-minute drive from my house. Big box retailer came with a very nice offer. I calculated commute costs and everything, and told my wife, look, I'm expecting an offer from the startup. If they come within this range, I will go to a startup. They gave me a hard offer at the bottom of my range. But I'm like, this has to be based on data decisions that I made. So I took a risk and I went to a startup. And once I got there, and the speed, the fact that you can wear many hats and you can make an impact on the direction of the company got me. That initial startup was also a good lesson on learning what not to do. That one ended up liquidating assets. But shortly before that, my manager jumped to another little startup at the time. She started on a Friday, called me on Monday. It's like, get over here. Let's go do this together.
Wow.
That was Sora. We built a team from, at the time, the company had 60 people. I was there 5.5 years. I left when they had 750 because it went from I was learning, I was making a difference, to I started watching what feet not to step on whenever something needed to change. I couldn't steer the ship anymore, and I wasn't learning. So I decided to take a year off on sabbatical. But as we already learned, I don't have a long attention span. So 2 months later, I went to work for an LLM company.
Interesting. Okay. So,
go ahead.
So let me, there's a lot of interesting things that I thought really jumped out to me. So, you kind of highlighted a few different ones that we can, I'd like to go back to just really quickly. So you mentioned you're a video gamer. What's what platform, what kind of games,
I was a PlayStation guy for a long time. I love the handheld of the controller. Wasn't a PC gamer until my son. But yeah, I have every single one of the PlayStations that's still connected, is still active. I had over 300 games on PS1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The other, a couple others were, you mentioned working for a company that went from, I think I understood it correctly, but physical photography to digital photography. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So presumably, we don't have to get into the details of names or companies or anything, but like that's a big shift, I would assume, for a company to try to manage and change too. It's kind of like right now where there's a lot of even software companies implementing AI where it's a big jump, right? So how did you find that? Like, was that hard to get the old school way to update to the new, or was it pretty easy for them?
We realized the company was about, you would go into the mall with your family and you were able to get your pictures in about an hour. So they had the lab on premise, printing everything processed within that. And as revenues start dwindling, our number one enemy was digital cameras.
Number one enemy. Nice.
Yeah, because people now could take those pictures at home and get the immediate reward.
Right.
So that was we did research on cameras, computer systems, servers, and it was about rolling it out.
And you also mentioned providing customer support 24/7, 365. I think a lot of companies, they kind of have, at least a lot of the US based that are smaller, they have this like 9 to 5 customer support, a little easier to manage. But yours was 365, 24/7. Yeah. What's that like? I mean, you have to take so many things into consideration, presumably at that scale, like translation of documentation in your help center. I may be having some folks on your support team who speak different languages. What are some of the challenges there? Because I would imagine there's a lot.
continuous communication, transparency, clarity, and culture building. Those are your biggest challenges. Um, you got to have autonomy because I cannot supervise people 24/7.
Right. You seem
gotta,
like you have enough energy to do it, but maybe you shouldn't.
as far as, yeah, I mean, for a while at another company, I had a team in the US and a team in India, and I would have meetings at 6 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, my wife wasn't happy. That's why my office is separated from the rest of the house.
As is mine. Very smart. I like that.
But yeah, it's all about setting up the right expectations, building that culture, and making sure that people know what our end goal is.
Sorry, my wife texted me about kid pickup. So okay, very cool. And I think the other thing that really resonated with me there was just the aspect of kind of feeling, I don't know what the right word is, but like fatigued or not as energized or excited as the startup grew. It's so funny because you go to a startup because you want to help build it into something big and substantial and awesome. And then once it's there, it's kind of like, oh, actually, this wasn't the part that I wanted. I liked the beginning, formative kind of building stage. Is that fair to say? Was that kind of how you looked at it?
Yeah. Those are my Legos. Once I got a build, why am I going back and rebuilding it? I need a different set.
I need a different set. Okay, that's super cool. That's exactly how I feel. It's like, yeah, where are the Legos? I guess later on as the company gets bigger, you have like one Lego and you kind of have to make sure that Lego is well taken care of. I have, I just realized I forgot. I have these guys sitting next to me, which is like the Lord of the Rings action heroes. But, you know, when I look at those guys, I'm like, yeah, it's hundreds of little pieces that I put together. Super fun. Awesome. Okay, so, you know, we talked a little bit about kind of the transformation stuff. I would be curious, you know, from your experience at all these different companies, maybe there's like a project or an experience that kind of helped change how you approached work. What was like a big challenge that you helped facilitate building through and towards?
Wow. Let's go. Every single company has changed me. Let's start with that part.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize about that.
Oh, no worries.
I don't know if you're familiar with what Odyssey does.
A little bit.
We are a third-party administrator of state funds for the education of underprivileged kids. So states put on a program where they'll give educational savings accounts or micro grants. So if your kid is in an underperforming school or underperforming school zone, you may qualify for some money from the state to pay for the private tuition or pay for supplies for school if you're going to homeschool them. So we manage everything from the application process, the parents' problems, the school registration, tuition payments, an e-marketplace with returns, damages, exchanges. All of that is my team. So I have B2E, B2B, B2C, and every state, it has complete different rules.
Oh, that's tough.
You're muted, by the way, or your audio went out because you're on a Mac and your iPods love to take it over. Let's see. Let's try your audio.
Audio.
Yeah. Hold on. That's on me. Try. So you were going to say something. Sorry.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I not only did I mute the mic, I killed my speakers when I was on the phone with my CEO.
Smart.
So to make this better, today we launched one state, and tomorrow we have another one.
How many total states do you guys cover at this point?
2 states are launching the programs. One today, Wyoming, and tomorrow, Utah, with 3 programs.
Okay.
So he's like, there's all of these things that I'm like, I got this. I know what it is. If I had a concern, I would have told you, hey, Scott, you know what? I need to drop on this.
Yeah.
I have a phenomenal team. We got this, and I'll show him what we can do.
That's awesome. I saw your LinkedIn post that you were hiring in Utah, actually. So do you guys have anybody here already, or will that be part of the new product rollout?
So there was two programs in Utah, the SOEP and the UFA, and they were administered by 3 other companies. We signed a contract last Monday, and we gotta go live tomorrow.
All right.
So we don't have all the data from the previous people. There's a lot of unknowns. So it's about putting the communications together, get the team on what to do. And yes, part of what we do is the moment we get a contract at a state, I hire workers there.
Okay. Yeah, so that totally makes sense.
I opened an account at Handshake at BYU, and I had 2 people hired. I got the okay to hire on Wednesday. I had 2 people hired on Friday, and started Monday. We did 17 interviews in 2 days.
All right. You need some Lego time.
Yeah,
maybe.
We have Tyler Wren waiting for me.
Okay. Amazing. So what you going back like 45 seconds, you mentioned you have a great team. So tell me a little about that. How are you building a great team, hiring and recruiting people? Do you have any like tips?
Sure.
I don't know, best practices. I mean, it sounds like you know what you're doing.
If I were to brag about anything in my career, it's in 16 years I had only 1 person resign. When I hire people, I hire somebody I'm going to work for. Not somebody's going to work for me. My description is I develop the team while running the business, not the other way around. So I'm committed to anybody that comes to work for me that I'm going to skill them up. So tips is whenever you hire, if possible, have 2 people start together, never 1 single person. Couple of things on that. If you have a single person, it's more expensive on your training team. When you have 2 people start together, they have somebody that's become their buddy that is going through the same problems as you are, right? If you're starting with them, and you don't leave your buddy behind. It's nature of humans. I also, very first thing I ask them, it's like, welcome to the team. You have your first project. In 2 weeks, I want you to tell me that my baby's ugly. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want you to find every single hole when something doesn't look right, that is ugly, that you think we could have done better.
Oh, I love that. Okay. You're giving them permission, so it's not like they have to be careful. They can just come right to you.
I want to know everything that's wrong. As we talked earlier, I celebrate failure. I celebrate when things are wrong, because I cannot fix if I don't know that's wrong. So everybody has, from the beginning, they have ownership, and they know that they can change things. That reporting a mistake is okay. I will do this. I'll be on a meeting, and I'm like, hey guys, remember what I told you? Yeah, I was wrong. What do you mean? Yeah, look, this is it. Well, this is on me. It was a mistake, right? We make mistakes, we learn, we grow. That's all it is. So establishing that trust it makes a big difference.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a 7-year-old who also in ADHD, kind of all over the place, crazy guy. And he loves to play with and touch. He has no impulse control, but he's the greatest kid in the world, but like he will move everything. And so yesterday I came home, I was looking for something specific and it was just gone. I could not find it. And I said, Zayden, where did you move my thing? And I was looking around for a few minutes and I realized that I moved it. So I had to very quickly apologize to him. And I think that's it's interesting because the number of mistakes and problems that we find, and then also mistakes that we make, you
kind of have to be willing to like be okay with those mistakes, but you at the same time you want to be working with people who are like humble enough to say, I made a mistake or I screwed up, right? Like not because you're going to hold it over them, but because they need to know that they did make a mistake, right? Like as a manager, how do you balance the like, oh, you screwed up? I mean, you're probably not saying that, but like, how do you provide that feedback when they do make the mistake?
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you asked. One of the things that I just did is I created a 10-week leadership training for my managers. So every Friday, instead of, oh, what went wrong and everything, we talk about leadership. So I have a program that I'm building with them. And one of those trainings is focused on system versus person. So if somebody on your team makes a mistake, automatically assume that the system is broken. It's not the person. Why did they fail? They made a mistake, right? Did you have was the policy there? In this case, somebody missed a policy. Well, it's documented. Great. Where is it documented? How easy is it to find? Well, it's on this document here. How big is the document? 50 pages. What page is it at? Page 9. How big is this thing? Is it bolded? Do you have a specific explanation or what are the consequences of missing this policy? No. Okay, then it's on us. What it wasn't clear, it wasn't there. We set them up for failure. So the system is broken. So every time you find a mistake from one of your employees, figure out how the system is broken and how we're going to prevent somebody else. That's a gift that he gave you by making that mistake.
Do you find that I think part of that methodology that you described, you get to a point where you identify the process and then you identify that maybe the process wasn't documented, but you also know that was somebody's responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So once you get to that point, is it more about helping them see that they need to fix it? I mean, I think some people, I have friends whose CEOs, they use guilt and shame and all these kinds of other things to embarrass. I'm not sure that those are very helpful typically. I think they kind of just shut you down, right?
Yeah. I'll ask him, why do you think he missed it? Right? Have him give him, so do you understand the importance? Everything I do, and happens to be another Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why.
Yeah.
When people understand the reasoning behind why you're asking, everything else is easier. It's like, so like you said, it's like, so somebody had to write that policy. Somebody didn't put it correctly. And I'm like, do you understand why this person missed it?
Oh, okay. That's cool. And that could potentially be the end because maybe they just don't know. And that could be they're the wrong person for the job.
Guilty for that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's my job as the leader, right?
Right.
I take the blame for whatever is wrong because I didn't give clear enough instructions or set up expectations on what I need to be done.
I love that. Let's by the way, just to pause for a second. I know we're ended at 4:45, right? Do you have a hard stop? Do you want to start to wrap up?
I'm okay. I'm also took some of your time away from
okay.
CEO phone call.
Well, I think the CEO is understandable. So, we've talked a little bit about building teams, hiring them, making sure that they're doing a great job, holding them accountable. Are there areas that you're seeing the development of, resources, technologies, emerging trends that you're either implementing in your products or your team that you're like really excited about and that actually seem different for the first time?
Yeah. Let's go with the hot topic, right?
Hot topic, yes.
Yeah. AI. Right. So
it's everywhere. It's so hot right now.
God, I was at a VC pitch competition last night, and out of 11 competitors, 10 were AI. So everybody's doing AI. I see AI is not going to replace my agents. AI is here to augment my agents. They will not take their job. I'm old enough to remember 1985, Excel was coming out. And they're like, oh my God, this is going to destroy all accountants. And accountants didn't lose their job to Excel. They lose their job to accountants who know how to use Excel. Same thing is going to happen here. There's two things I've seen on support. Support agents are not going to lose their job to AI. They're going to lose their job to support agents who know how to use AI. The skills that I'm hiring for now are much different than the skills that were before. I don't need to hire you for hard skills. I need to hire you for soft skills. Whenever you reach support, there's two types of interactions you may have. A transactional, how do I do this? Can you reset my password? Or a relational. AI will be able to handle most transactional interactions. That means what gets to your support is the relational part. So it's more about work on empathy. I told you we're taking over this program where there's ambiguity and unknown, and people are frustrated because they're moving from one vendor to another. So the very big advice I tell immediately is like, okay, if somebody reached out to you, that means they don't have a problem that the AI couldn't have solved. What they need is an ear to listen to the frustration they're going through. So listen, paraphrase, empathize, and have them sign up for a communication slide. But don't interrupt.
I think the don't interrupt is very valuable advice, as well as the empathy part. This is kind of a personal example, but I had a sibling pass away 2 months ago, and she had booked a bunch of flights for a trip that she can't go on, right? And so I called on behalf of her, and I remember going through the support tree on the phone and just being overwhelmed and worried that I was going to talk to a robot who wouldn't be able to help me, or I would talk to somebody who just said no, and then I would be really annoyed that they at least didn't kind of work with me or try to empathize. And it was actually Southwest, and they had incredible customer support. This woman, as you described, very empathetic. Oh, I'm sorry, and I'm not there to have a sort of therapist, situation, but she was so kind and so helpful, and she resolved my problem, but with empathy. And for me, it's like that helps build that relationship with that company and that brand for quite a while. And I'm going to talk about it here, right?
And
I think that's probably another part for you. Yeah, the relational part.
Exactly what it is. It's going back like a good comedian, right? It's about the finite versus the infinite game. She played the infinite game. It wasn't about here's your refund or no, you don't get anything. That would have been we win, you lose. That's a finite game. She's like, I will listen, I'll build a relationship. This is gonna go a long time. So
yeah, very true. Very true. I mean, the rest of my life, I'm gonna probably continue to be a customer. So yeah, you're totally right. Infinite versus finite is so cool. I have maybe two more questions for you.
sure.
But you've worked now with a lot of different great companies, and it seems like you really align with talking to the customer, empathizing with the customer, listening to them. So tell me about what the difference is from your perspective of building a great customer experience and building a great product versus maybe not. Like how do you build a great product? What sets you apart? How do you think about that?
Is problem, and I see this with a lot of the companies, is they're building a great product on their perspective. It's not a great product on the customer's perspective. You are building it. You think that their interaction, the user experience, it should be obvious. Yes, because you designed it. You know what every button does.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that it's obvious. I'm like, but if I click here, it doesn't do this. And I'm like, well, why would you click there? So it's more about being on the point on the perspective of the customer. So yeah, the voice of the customer programs are great. Some of my favorite things is any bad CSAT that I was product related. I can come back to CSAT in a moment.
Sure.
But it is a gold mine of information. Every time something went wrong, once again, celebrate that. It's like, wait, that wasn't intuitive to them. So getting that perspective.
And they care enough to tell you, right?
Yeah. You don't have to go put a panel of customer panel that will tell you, because then you're narrowed to just those particular views. Besides, your customer panel is usually your top customers, not the rest of them. So you're catering to a small percentage of your customer base. One really simple one, especially on SaaS. Most SaaS products are going to give you some kind of insights and reporting. Almost every single company, the reporting is based about how good they're doing of a job. Know what their product is doing for you. So if you were to give me a report, insights. Hey, look, we closed on AI particularly. We did this chat, this many containments. We solved this many tickets. I'm like, okay, what does that mean to my CFO? How many man hours did I solve? What is my ROI? If I was a product guy, a report that gives an ROI to the user goes to the person who's going to pay the bill. You're making the retention much easier. But the reports are in your perspective. Look how good we are. I'm like, and the CFO is like, okay, I'm glad that they're good and they're doing this thing. What does that mean for me?
I'm very guilty of this in our product too. Now that you're saying this, I'm like, shoot, we'd have nothing that helps the buyer, the admin, the CFO, the management team think that our product is worthwhile at all. This is a very good point.
So sorry, and so this is what I'm looking at. Like, okay, this is what will make a successful product. Something that is, if this is the person I'm selling to, somebody else in the company is paying the bill. What is it that's going to make them look good to the company? How I'm going to make my buyer's job easier to sell internally, because they'll be your champions, and they'll tell all their friends. It's like, guess what? I don't have to do all this. Mix this data with all this data from here, from all this data to here to prove an ROI. They gave it to me.
Very cool. Okay, love that. I think you said you wanted to come back to CSAT.
Yeah, I have
if you'd rather
I have an approach on CSAT, and this is what I was mentioning. CSAT is I consider a vanity metric, because everybody on the outside wants to go, oh, what is your customer satisfaction? CSAT is not a customer satisfaction, is measuring how good your support team is doing. CES is better to me. But on CSAT, it's a binary question. Did we answer your question? Did the agent take care of you? Yes, no. Now, a great sampling rate or response rate will be 20%. Now, let's say you have 20% response rate, and you have a really high CSAT of 95%, which I'll brag because I'm at that, right? So that means 5% of your response rate. So 5% of the 20% of your customer base is upset. And you're working to getting that 5% above. It's not making a dent on all the bulk, the 80% of your customers. You have a very small sampling rate, and it's only people who are very polarized that go to one of those ends. You upset them enough or make them happy enough to give a response. Now, once I have the data, I want to make the best out of my data. So I use what I call the 3 Ps. Any CSAT that comes in, I'll classify it into people, process, policy, or product. Now, by default, any positive CSAT is people. You will never get oh, you helped me, thank you, because your product did it so well. No, you took care of me. Or your policy is great, let me send you a response on that. No. So everything that comes on the positive is the agent did their job. On the negative, there's a lot of times that your agents will get nicked because they say, oh, on your case, your example, I'm sorry, but we cannot help you because we can only help the person who did the request for canceling those flights needs to come from the email of the person who originally booked. That would have been a policy, and I would have got at the agent's pretty much telling you, I'm not empowered to help you.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So that's a policy issue. The other one is, hey, I tried to do it, but the system won't let me. Now we have a product issue. So your goal is finding policies and products to fix. Negatives, sure, you may get some errors on your agency. It's a coachable moment. But you have gold mine on where your policy is failing your customers and where your product is failing.
Super insightful. Thank you. That was super cool. I like that a lot. Okay, so final question, final countdown. Young Fernando, older Fernando, but you've experienced a lot. You got a lot of great experience. What's one piece of advice you'd give to that 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who's looking for something like to get to where you are? What would you say?
Finish college.
Okay.
I did all on the School of Hard Knocks. I love reading. I love learning. I encountered that a lot of my teachers didn't know. They were following a textbook and following a pattern. They didn't know deeper questions and I got the solution with college. I wasn't learning from a person. I'm like, if this is what you're going to teach me, I can read the book on my own, teach myself, which I did. Most of the programming, most of the time I've done. I'm an avid, not reader because of my short attention span, I'm a listener. So every time I go for a walk, I have a book at either 1.75 or 2 times the speed. And I'm listening to books all the time. But yeah, it's like there's what they call the paper ceiling. If you don't have a degree, you're not considered for long jobs. Okay. That piece of paper opens more doors. Did I get where I am? Sure. I would have gotten here much faster had I not given up a year before I finish.
All right. Well, that is a great suggestion. Thank you. All right, Fernando, thanks for your time and thanks for hanging out, talking, answering questions. Love having you on today.
It was a pleasure. I'm happy to have more conversations. I'm looking forward to giving your team a little more feedback on the products.
Perfect.
We're getting there. I'm looking forward to next Friday's release.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right, man. I'll finish the recording and then we can chat for a minute.
Sure, no problem.